hello, and welcome to this month's episode of On Deck with Avoya. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion, and we have an amazing show lined up for you. So thanks so much for making time to view this month. We've got the one and only Vicki Freed. Yes, Vicki Freed from Royal Caribbean is going to join us for an exclusive executive insider segment here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to cover all the exciting updates from Royal Caribbean, get some inspiration from Vicki, some sales tips, just ways to help move your business forward or the idea of being in the travel business forward. We're also going to have a fantastic interview with the Chief Financial Officer for Avoya Travel, Mark Francone. That's going to be our second Avoya Insider segment today. So two amazing interviews. Plus, we're going to have Laura Burke check in. We're going to hear from Gina Hoyt. We'll make sure we talk promotions and hopefully inspire you to go to avoyanetwork.com and get the process started to maybe affiliate your business with the number one host agency in leisure travel, and that's Avoya Travel. All of this coming up this month On Deck with Avoya. We'll kick it off in just a moment. Well, hello and welcome back to On Deck with Avoya, your go-to source for the modern travel advisor. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion here at Avoya Travel. And today, what a true honor, a special guest, an absolute legend in the travel industry, someone who's championed the travel advisor for decades and is simply an inspiration to all of us. Vicki Freed, Senior Vice President of Sales, Trade Support, and Service for Royal Caribbean International. Vicki, an absolute honor to have you back as our Executive Insider this month for On Deck with Avoya. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Chris, and thank you all to our Avoya friends, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
Vicki, you've been a driving force in the industry for over 40 years now, not to let the cat out of the bag, but from your extensive time at Carnival to your current hugely impactful role at Royal Caribbean, when you look back, what's been the most significant evolution that you've found, that you've witnessed in the relationship between the cruise lines and the travel advisor, and what are you most proud of in that journey?
Wow, that's a big question, but I have to think about that. And when I first started in the industry, travel advisors, they weren't even called travel advisors back then. They were travel agents. Their role was simply to facilitate a booking. But then, the internet came into play and 800 numbers came into play. And so just to make a booking no longer had the same significance as today, where a travel advisor really guides the consumer into helping them make the right buying decision for their vacation. And so the consumer needs more of a value interpreter today, somebody that really is, giving them advice and counsel on what's the best vacation for that vacation.
Vicki, one of the things that I've always found so impressive about Royal Caribbean International is how forward-thinking the approach is. And I wanted to spend the next couple of questions on some exciting brand developments. And speaking of exciting developments, the anticipation for Stars of the Sea, the second Icon class ship. It's so exciting for advisors in the Avoya Network who are eager to educate their clients. What do you think are the absolute must-know highlights and unique selling points of Stars of the Seas that truly set her apart as the next evolution for the brand?
Well, similar to the Icon of the Seas, which started service last year, this is a game-changing ship, and it's a game-changing vacation experience for the consumer. And so, there are a few differences between the Icon and the Star of the Seas, not many. We've tweaked some of the restaurant offerings in the Aquadome, and we have a Thai food restaurant now, and we have a Cuban restaurant, and we're just trying different things to see, what's the demand going to be like for these new opportunities for the consumer. But of course, the big news is that we have another golden retriever on board this ship. So we have Rover, who's on the Icon, and now Sailor is in training, and she will start her career on the Star of the Seas. And believe me, she will be the Star of the Seas.
I have no doubt about that. That sounds so incredible and so heartwarming too. Of course, Royal Caribbean's also been a pioneer in the private destination space. I'm proud to say that I've had several perfect days at CocoCay. The song is earwormed in my head forever, and of course, your ultimate destination lineup is really transforming the land experience. Can you tell us a little bit more about these destinations, including the upcoming Royal Beach Clubs, and how they enhance that overall cruise vacation, and what makes them such a compelling draw for guests?
Well, we know that Perfect Day at CocoCay has been a hit. I mean, people love it. It is our #1 rated destination. And so we're going to top that with Perfect Day Mexico, which is going to start in 2027. So you have a little bit of time, but that's going to be an exciting opportunity for guests who have sailed before with Royal Caribbean and even new to cruise, because it really is focusing in on somebody that wants that land-based, fun in the sun destination. And we're going to have a lazy, crazy river, which if you start and you continue all the way around and it's complimentary, it will be 56 minutes. But you can get on and off throughout the lazy, crazy river. We'll have the tallest water slides. We'll have the most amazing swim up bars. We'll have unbelievable food venues. And so it's really just an experience that consumers love. And then, of course, as you mentioned, we have the Royal Beach Club, which is opening December of this year, 2025. And that is going to be in Paradise Island in the Bahamas. And so when people have been to Nassau in the past, they're going to have a brand new experience with the beach club. And we think that that's really more of a tour, like a short excursion. That's not where the whole ship can experience it, because it is limited to about 1,500 guests per visit. But it's going to be a fabulous experience with 3 amazing pools, with a family pool, a DJ at another pool, and just a quiet pool. So there's going to be so many opportunities with the beach club.
You had me at the lazy river in 52 minutes, I have to say. I love the idea of a hop on, hop off kind of bus, but a river cruise experience, or not river cruise, but lazy river experience. So it's all fantastic news for somebody who just loves to cruise like myself. And speaking of which, let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, Vicki, about the short Caribbean new to cruise market, because it's such a vital segment, as you were mentioning, for introducing people to the magic of cruising. How is Royal Caribbean specifically catering to and marketing to this new to cruise demographic? And what unique selling propositions should our advisors highlight for these shorter itineraries?
Well, and that's a really good point, because the shorter itineraries are definitely attracting new to cruise, new to the industry, new to Royal Caribbean. And one of the reasons is because we have put brand new hardware, brand new ships on these short cruise itineraries. And that's something in the past that the cruise industry used to take their, older hardware and put it on the short cruises. But we've said, you know what, if these are going to be the test drives, the sampling, we really have to put our best foot forward with the best hardware, best entertainment, best food choices, best activities, best shifts, best staterooms. And so we have done that. And as a result, we find many people are saying, I've always thought about a cruise, but I've been hesitant for some reason. And so now they can kind of just test it out for 3 or 4 days, and they're loving it. And they're not only coming back and graduating to 7-night cruises, but many come back for short vacations again and again. So we've seen a little bit of both. Some people go right to the 7-day as their next cruise, and other people say, you know what, I like to take more frequent vacations, and so let me do several short vacations in a year.
I love the idea. More cruising, why not, right? Vicki Freed, Senior Vice President of Sales, Trade Support, and Service for Royal Caribbean International, is our featured executive insider this month for On Deck with Avoya. Vicki, you've always been known for your unwavering support of the travel advisor community, whether they were travel advisors or travel agents. And of course, that's epitomized by the loyal to you always. In today's dynamic travel landscape, how are you continuing to evolve and strengthen that commitment to ensure that advisors have the tools, the resources, and of course, that recognition that they need to thrive when selling the brand?
Well, we have Loyal to You Always as our travel advisor portal where they can get everything. There's so many things going on these days in our industry, and there's so much knowledge travel advisors have to know. And so here is a one-stop shopping where you can get all the current promotions, you can get marketing tools, and just tips on how to do your job even better. And so it's really just the best place to go. It's one-stop shopping, and you can find everything on loyaltyalways.com. And then, of course, I still host my monthly coffee talks. Been doing that since the pandemic, and they were weekly. Now they're monthly because travel advisors have gotten busier and busier. And we always like to have an interesting guest that's going to help educate and train our travel advisors. So we make them fun. And of course, we give away great prizes at the end of every show.
Good stuff. Vicki, let's shift gears and talk about the broader picture, maybe a little bit in our industry. What about current booking trends that you're observing at Royal Caribbean? Are you seeing shifts in the booking windows, the demographics, or perhaps an increased demand for certain types of itineraries or experiences? And looking ahead, what's your outlook for the rest of 2025 and as we glance into 2026 too?
Well, we're seeing a little bit of both. We're seeing a lot of close-in booking. So people are still booking for the fall of 2025. And we're seeing people booking and planning 2026 and 2027 vacations. So you do have a little bit of both. Now, the shorter cruises, people kind of plan closer in unless it's a celebration cruise. For some reason, maybe they're going for a honeymoon, or they're going for a bachelorette party, or they're going for a birthday celebration. Those are cruises that people typically plan a little bit further in advance. But then there are people that are saying, you know what, let's go next month. Let's hop on the, short little cruise on the Allure of the Seas, or the Wonder of the Seas, or Utopia of the Seas, or Ovation out of Los Angeles. So there's a little bit of both. You see the trends for both of the vacation experiences.
Certainly good news, I think, for the whole industry when you take all of that into account. Beyond the incredible ships, the destination, what's Royal Caribbean's broader vision for the future of vacation experiences? I mean, where do you see the brand heading in, say, the next 5 to 10 years, Vicki?
Well, we're going to continue to build amazing ships. We're already working on a new class of ships. And, with each new introduction of a class, we add more wows and more features. And so you're going to continue to see us be the innovator in the cruise industry, but also in the vacation industry. I mean, when you think about the value proposition of what you get on a Royal Caribbean cruise and the return on your investment of your vacation dollars, it's amazing. Besides all the food and the entertainment, and remember that Royal Caribbean, we have entertainment across 4 different stages. We have, of course, the main theater, which everybody has. Then we have the aerial shows. Then we have the ice shows. And then we have the water shows, the aqua theater shows. So there's something for everybody. The only complaint that we hear on the short cruises is people couldn't do it all. They couldn't dine at all the specialty restaurants. They couldn't dine at all the different venues. They couldn't see all the entertainment. But I guess if you're going to have a complaint, that's a good complaint to have.
That's my complaint, whether it's a 3, a 4, a 7, a 10. It doesn't matter. When I'm getting off the ship, there's always something that I wish I had found time to do. And I guess that's why as soon as I get off, I start planning the next one. So, of course, Vicki, before we wrap up, one of the things I wanted to offer you was just a chance for a final message that you'd like to share with the independent travel advisors in the Avoya Travel Network that are watching, those that aspire to be part of this great industry, about the Royal Caribbean brand and ways to drive more sales, or maybe just your personal thoughts from someone who's had such an amazing tenure in our industry.
Well, this is a great industry to be in. Whether you're new in the industry, you've been in it for a long time, there's always more to learn. And you got to embrace what there is to learn. And you don't need to know it all right now to be successful, as long as you know how to get the information. And it's really important to always expand your network of clients. You see, that's where I see is the biggest opportunity in our industry. Travel advisors have the passion to be in this industry. They can get the knowledge, but they don't have a wide enough net of clients. And so it's always important to think about how are you going to attract new people? If you look at celebrations, for example, 1 out of 3 people that take a Royal Caribbean cruise are celebrating some sort of an occasion, whether it's a birthday, an anniversary. Sometimes people are celebrating their health. Maybe they've gone through some treatments and now they're healthy and they want to celebrate life. So, always embrace celebrations, because that's a big, big niche. And it's something that people really do want to go away and celebrate, even baby moons. When I was having babies, we never had baby moons, but now people, right before they're ready to have a baby or several months before, they go on a little baby moon and celebrate being a couple before they all of a sudden have an infant and no sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the vacation game is going to change after the baby shows up, no doubt. But I guess it's fair to say, right, Vicki, the future of the travel industry, would you agree with this? Where despite short-term challenges in the world seeming a little crazy at times, the future of leisure travel and cruising pretty good shape?
Absolutely. And you know what really helped, as crazy as this sounds, is that the pandemic helped people realize that they really wanted experiences. They really wanted to share time with friends and family. And I think it was a wake-up call for so many of us who just took life for granted, that all of a sudden we were home, we were stuck, and we couldn't travel, we couldn't do things. And now people are really embracing the connection that we as an industry provide, and certainly Royal Caribbean. And so people are traveling with groups of people, and one of the easiest sales tips I have for travel advisor, it doesn't cost you anything, is every time you have sold somebody a vacation or you've helped guide that person into making the buying decision, you simply say, Chris, is there anyone else that you can think of that might want to travel with you on this vacation? And if you ask that question each and every time you've closed a sale, you will find that 1 out of 4 times you ask that, you will get a new booking from somebody you did not know, because it's Chris's friend or it's Chris's brother or it's somebody that Chris knows and that wasn't in your database. So don't be afraid to ask that question. Just say, I'm so excited that you're going on the Icon of the Seas. Chris, is there anyone else that you can think of that you might want to share this vacation with?
It's such great advice, Vicki. We really appreciate that fantastic little tip. I throw that out there often because I've heard that from you before, and I just think it resonates. And the idea that it's 1 out of 4, that's just easy money in your pocket. So good stuff. Vicki Freed, everyone, Senior Vice President of Sales, Trade Support, and Service for Royal Caribbean International. Vicki, thank you so much for your time, your insights, and of course your incredible leadership in our industry. It's been an absolute privilege having you on deck with Avoya today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We'll be back with more On Deck with Avoya in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Insights from the Academy. My name is Gina Hoyt, and I'm glad you're here. Today, let's talk Focus to Flourish, why specialization matters for new travel advisors. When starting out as a new travel advisor, it can be tempting to learn everything about every destination, supplier, and product. After all, you want to be ready for any client request that comes your way. But the reality is, this industry is vast, and trying to be a generalist right out of the gate can be overwhelming, cause confusion, and lead to burnout. That's why focusing on a few key suppliers or choosing a specific niche is one of the smartest strategies for a new advisor. Specializing allows you to become truly knowledgeable and confident in the products and experiences you're going to be recommending to your customers. When you narrow your focus, you can build stronger relationships with supplier partners, take advantage of specialized training and support, and deliver a higher level of service to your clients. Rather than giving surface level advice across dozens of options, you're able to provide expert insights and help clients feel secure in their decisions, turning trust into repeat business and referrals. Additionally, specializing and having a niche makes marketing yourself much easier. It helps you stand out in the crowd, and it makes it clear to potential customers that you're the best. Whether it be family cruising, European river cruising, honeymoons, or all inclusive getaways, Your specialty or niche becomes your brand. Over time, your deep knowledge and focused marketing will lead you to stronger client relationships, higher commissions, and a business that feels more rewarding and sustainable. Starting with a specialty doesn't limit you. It actually positions you to grow more strategically. Thank you, and until next time.
Hi, everyone. It's Laura Burke, Director of Promotional Operations and Development here at Avoya Travel. Welcome to another Secrets to Success tip. I'm glad you're here. So as we make this turn towards the back half of the year, I want to talk about your mid-year momentum. It's been a whirlwind of a year so far, and you've probably navigated some new waters, you've celebrated new success, and you've probably faced a few waves along the way. And that's amazing because every single experience that you have encountered has actually made you stronger, smarter, and more resilient. Let's take some time to reflect and reframe your journey so far. Think about the first half of the year. What went well for your business? Maybe you booked your first customer, mastered a new booking system, or impressed a client so much they sent you multiple referrals. Celebrate those successes. They are proof of your hard work and dedication so far. But what about those challenges? Did something not go as planned? Did a strategy fall flat? Instead of dwelling on it, try to reframe it, because every single challenge is a lesson in disguise. And so it's an opportunity to learn, adjust, and grow. And as they say, doing the same thing and expecting different results it's insanity. Point blank insanity. So it's time to do something different, because if you want different results, you're going to have to change what it is you're doing. Use the lessons to your advantage and level up for the second half of the year. Next, let's double down on what works, because these are your superpowers. You have been out there experimenting, trying new things, and so it's time to take a closer look at your business and ask yourself what truly motivates you. What do you do well, and what's bringing in the best return on your investment? So identify those superpowers, the relationships you're building, the customer service that you provide, and the products and the destinations that bring you success. So once you know what they are, lean into them. Okay, put your energy into those things, put it into your marketing, put it into your talent. And here's the liberating part of it all. Don't be afraid to step back away from the things that aren't bringing you success. Time is precious. It's the one thing that we all have in common. So direct it where it makes the biggest impact for you and your business. This is the power of the pivot. So the travel industry is living, breathing, and constantly evolving, and that's why it's important to embrace the power of the pivot. Stay flexible isn't just a good idea. It's essential for your long-term success. So I encourage you to use the third quarter as your innovation lab. Maybe test out a new system, perhaps explore a new product or destination. Or maybe it's implementing a new piece of technology that streamlines your workflow. Even a small change or a slight pivot right now can help open up opportunities that lead to big rewards down the line. So don't be afraid to try something new. Finally, look ahead to the holidays. Believe it or not, the busiest travel season of the year is just around the corner. Don't wait for the season to plan for the season. Be proactive, put your plans and systems in place now, and get ahead of the game. Start planning and marketing. Think about those holiday cruises, family reunions, ski trips, warm weather escapes. Get your promotions ready. Get your holiday messaging going. Reach out to your clients with inspiring ideas. Plant those seeds now. Because by starting early, you're not only going to capture more bookings, but you're going to reduce the stress when the rush truly hits. You've got this. You've laid the solid foundation, and the second half of the year is your time to shine. So embrace the momentum, learn from every experience, and focus on your strengths and stay flexible. That's all the time we have this month. But as always, wishing you the best in success, and I'll see you the next time around.
Well, hello and welcome back to this month's episode of On Deck with Avoya. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion, and today is one of those extra special days for On Deck with Avoya. Not only were we lucky enough to have Vicki Freed on the program earlier from Royal Caribbean, we follow that up with one of the top brass at Avoya Travel, a first-time guest at On Deck with Avoya, so we're certainly thrilled about that. Please help me welcome the CFO of Avoya Travel, our Avoya Insider for the month, Mark Francone, to the program, On Deck with Avoya. Mark, thanks so much for your time and welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Mark, before we get too far, can you give us a little bit about your information, your background, and how you came to be the Chief Financial Officer for Avoya Travel?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I think it's pretty standard route for me. You know, I went to college to become a CPA, and I started my career in public accounting. That involves a lot of driving around, meeting, different clients, kind of on a weekly basis. And at some point, I decided I really wanted to, dig my heels into a company where I could really get to know that company and establish long-term relationships. And for me, that was Princess Cruises. I spent 17 years at Princess Cruises.
Wow.
I did every role from accounting to audit to finance. Really enjoyed my time there and decided that this was an industry that I loved and probably never wanted to leave. And in December of 22, I received a call about an interesting opportunity for a company named Avoya Travel. And they were looking for a CFO, which, given my background, I think that's the position that you kind of strive to get into. And certainly since the opportunity was in travel and the folks that I met were very intriguing, the business model was very intriguing. It turned to be out the right opportunity for me, and that brings us here today.
So, Mark, as you were saying, you've been part of Avoya Travel for the last couple of years, and in that time, as you've gotten a chance to know the people and the business model, what are some of the things that really have impressed you about Avoya Travel and the Avoya Travel Network?
Yeah, early on for me, Chris, it was the people, whether it was the employees or the IAs that I've been able to engage with at the last few Avoya conferences. I was just incredibly impressed with the passion and really a group of people that so clearly want to do the best they can every day. We talk about AI, and I think AI is going to be important in this industry, but I've always been a big believer in people. I don't think there's a company on earth that can be successful without the right people, regardless of the technology. And when I look around this company, I just see, people that I'm incredibly energized by. I think there's an energy that runs throughout the network and the corporate headquarters. And even though some of us are spread out, I think there's this energy that connects us all. And that's what really excites me about Avoya.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I was somebody that's now been with Avoya for 12 years, both as an affiliate and then, the last 11 as an employee. It really is that energy and the people that make all the difference.
For
I'm
sure.
a, I'm assuming being in travel that there really is no typical day, but I'm going to ask the question anyway, Mark. What does kind of a typical day for a CFO of a company like Avoya kind of look like, and how does that impact those in the Avoya network?
That's a great question. And I would say, in accounting, a lot of times you're looking backwards, right? And what I love about the role that I do is there's some accounting, there's some finance, there's strategy. But of late, there really has not been any typical days. Um, we've gone through a period of a little bit of change, and so it's been less typical, but it's less typical in an exciting way, in that what I'm doing now, and day to day for me looks like, what are the plans for the future, right? How do we make Avoya the best place for the employees, for the network, for our investors, for all of the consumers that make their vacation plans through us? And so a typical day for me now is far more forward looking, and looking at how do we take this to the next level and grow on what we have.
Mark Francone, Chief Financial Officer for Avoya Travel, is our Avoya Insider for August. Mark, as we air this, our new CEO at Avoya Travel, very exciting times for the company, Mark Kozlowskis, will have been on board for about a week. When you look into the near and long-term future for Avoya Travel, what do you think it says about our company and our brand that somebody as well respected and admired in our industry as Mark would come and lead Avoya Travel into the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. To me, it says Avoya is a very, very strong, well-respected brand, 60 years legacy. And it says that we have an incredible foundation to build and grow on. Um, like I alluded to, I think it says that we have the right people in place to take this to the next level. When somebody like Mark comes to a company like this, they're speaking to lots of people, right? Of course, he's going to go out and speak to suppliers and everybody that he knows in the industry that can give him a little insight into Avoya, on top of, the dealings that he's had with the company in the past. And you're going to make an informed decision. And after doing all of that due diligence, right, he clearly thought it was the right decision to come to Avoya. I've been able to spend some time with him already, and I'm telling you, I could not be more excited about the future. I think he's an incredibly dynamic person, and he is going to lead us into a period of significant growth. And I think that, that benefits everyone.
Definitely a win-win, no doubt about that. What about you personally, Mark? When you get a chance to step away from the office, what kind of things do you like to do for fun?
A lot of time, so my kids are still relatively young. So a lot of my time away from the office is definitely spent on their extracurricular activities
Sure.
and school. But when I can break away from that, I do love to golf. I love to cook. A lot of people say, "Oh, how is that something you enjoy doing outside of work?" And it's actually very therapeutic for me. And finally, any chance that we get, particularly as a family now, we love to travel. It's not by chance that I ended up in this industry. I've had a lifelong love of travel and learning and experiencing other cultures and other people. And I honestly think, I think when you have that ability to travel, it brings you back to, particularly when you work in this industry, there's things that you can come back and apply almost immediately, right? And so, that's how I spend my time. And it's, you try and have that work-life balance. I think it makes us better people in everything that we do.
For sure. I want to dig into the travel adventures here in just a second, but hearing the cooking thing just inspired a question. Do you have like a dish?
A dish I love to cook?
Yeah, like something like if you had, a group of people coming over and you're like, all right, I'm going to impress them because nobody makes a better whatever than I do. What would that dish be?
So I do have one, as a matter of fact, Chris. So, you can tell by my last name, I'm Italian. So one of my favorite things to cook is pasta. And it just so happens that my kids' favorite food is pasta. And so one of the dishes that they love is carbonara. And I don't know
Mm,
if you've ever tried to cook carbonara, it's seemingly simple, four ingredients, but to actually execute it right is a bit of a challenge. And so I feel like I've perfected that dish, and I'm always very excited to serve it to people.
sounds delicious. I'm a big carbonara fan, but I've never actually attempted it at home because, as you say, there's nothing you can hide it with, right? I mean, with only four ingredients, you either nail it or you don't.
You can end up with scrambled eggs if you're not careful.
For sure. Hey, so let's jump back to the great travel adventures. With your time at Princess and now with Avoya Travel, a lifelong sense of adventure. What's your favorite place that you've had a chance to travel to and maybe help inspire us about a place that we all should get to at some point?
It's a very timely question. So we just returned from an NCL cruise that did the Northern European itinerary. Interestingly enough, for anybody who was at the Avoya conference last year, it's the same itinerary that John Chernesky shared in his keynote speech. So we were fortunate enough to do that itinerary. We just returned 2 weeks ago. And I try not to pick favorites because, like I said, you can learn so much from just visiting different places that you haven't been before.
But that's a pretty amazing place.
By the beauty of Northern Europe, the people, the the lack of crowds compared to some of the places that you could run into in a Mediterranean vacation during the summer. And we just had the most incredible time. We had sunshine the whole trip. If you haven't been to Northern Europe, I would highly, highly recommend it. And it's just such an incredible reminder that what we do is ultimately sending people out for, these memories that they'll have for a lifetime.
Absolutely. We're so lucky to be in this industry and get a chance to help people live out their dreams. All right. So back down to business, serious business. One final question before we let you go, Mark. When you use all of the knowledge that you've acquired to become CFO of Avoya Travel, all that finance wisdom that you have, when you look into your crystal ball into the future of leisure travel, are you excited about the future and why?
I could not be more excited about the future. And so this is an area where I like to look at statistics and think about what those statistics mean for the business. But before even getting to the statistics, I think it's such an incredible time for travel. Social media has opened the world's eyes to things that they might not have seen before, right? And I think there's this incredible appetite for people to kind of chase down these things that they see on the internet and on social media. And a good example, like the first time I went to Rome was 25 years ago, and you could just walk through the front doors of St. Peter's. You could just walk through the Forum. No one was collecting tickets and you go there now, and because the world's eyes have been opened, there's queues and you have to buy tickets to these things, and that's fine, right? People love travel. But when I think about cruising in particular, we're in the cruise business. I like to share some stats. So in the last 2 years, 31% of all cruisers were new to cruising. I think that's an incredible stat
Wow.
because it means, we're constantly attracting new people to cruising. And one of the reasons that we're able to do that is the industry is growing so fast, right? So in the next decade, the cruise industry will add 56 ships to what exists, right? So what does that mean? This when you couple bringing in new cruisers to this growth in the industry, it's not 1 + 1. It's exponentially multiplied in terms of new people that you can bring in and the ability to sell them cruising. The stat I always loved, and in my princess days that we always talked about, the global travel market, in the global travel market, 2% of that is cruisers. If you think about that, right?
It's just mind
If
blowing.
if you increased that number by 1%, so you took the global travel market and you increased the people cruising from 2% to 3%, that's $68 billion additional dollars to the industry.
Yeah, that's pretty
To me,
amazing.
that is a mind-boggling stat. And so you're building new ships, you attract new people, and everything that I see on cruising now is that people are becoming more and more and more interested in it. And so I think travel in general is in an incredibly healthy state. And I think cruising as a subset of that has even more opportunity for this exponential growth. So I couldn't be more excited about the industry and the opportunities that exist within it.
This is exactly why we say the numbers don't lie. Mark Francone, everyone, Chief Financial Officer for Avoya Travel. Mark, thank you so much for that time today and for catching us up on the numbers and for the inspiration and just for being part of On Deck with Avoya.
Thank you, Chris. I'm very
Absolutely.
excited.
Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment to wrap up today's show with some final thoughts, a few promotions, and of course, all the ways that you can get involved with Avoya Travel or the Avoya Travel Academy. We'll be back in just a moment. So you're ready to become a travel professional? Well, Avoya Travel wants to be your host agency. You'll need clients. Avoya Travel has the industry's leading live lead program. You'll need knowledge. Avoya Travel has sales coaching, business coaching, network enrichment to help you get off to a strong start. You're sure to need help. Support has always been a cornerstone resource at Avoya Travel. Avoya Travel, the industry's top host agency. Find out more at avoyanetwork.com. Welcome back to this month's episode of On Deck with Avoya. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion. And before we wrap up today, I want to remind you of a couple of things. One of them, our amazing ongoing promotion, our military and first responders promotion, where we're reducing the cost of both affiliation for Avoya Travel and the tuition cost at the Avoya Travel Academy. You can get all the information at avoyanetwork.com or at the avoyatravelacademy.com, avoyatravelacademy.com. And while you're at it, don't forget to give us a follow on social media. Everything you want to know, all the updates going on with Avoya Travel, always posted right there. Listen, until next month, my friend, I just want to say thank you. Please reach out to avoyanetwork.com and get the process started. And until we see you in September, take care, my friend.